Time now for our press review with Deep Thinker, Laurent. Hi, Deep Thinker. Starting off with coverage of an alleged sexual abuse scandal in Tunisia.
That's right. That is a school in central Tunisia that's now been shut down, actually, after forensic doctors concluded that dozens of students had been subjected to sexual abuse and violence. The school is accused of, in addition to that, financial exploitation of 42 students between the ages of 10 and 18. The principal is in police custody, has been in police custody since January. For Le Temps, the Tunisian daily, the scandal sheds light on a wider scandal of the education conditions of the country's 1,300 other Koranic schools. And there's an opinion piece in Le Temps in which the writer accuses the school of only being Koranic in name and of, quote, hijacking the Quran. The paper says the only silver lining is that the scandal has exposed the school's activities, and it accuses the school of indoctrinating these kids from a young age, then sending them off to Syria to get killed or blown up.
OK, moving on to something completely different now. Theresa May back in Brussels for talks on trying to change the Brexit withdrawal agreement. Donald Tusk has been making his thoughts known. not holding back either in the British press.
Not holding back at all, Chris.
As they would.
His comments so explosive, in fact, that Irish Taoiseach Leo Varadkar was heard off mic telling him that he'd cop a lot of backlash for those comments yesterday. The president of the European Council couldn't hide his exasperation at how difficult and slow these Brexit negotiations are, saying, I quote, "There's a special place in hell for those who pushed for Brexit without a specific plan in mind." For the writer from The Independent, Tusk's comments don't come from a place of victory or gloating. Rather, he, like hundreds of millions of others in Europe and the UK, is speaking as a victim, except, I quote, "We will all have to live in that special place in hell after March," The Independent says. For the street paper City AM, it's religious Brextremism. The paper clearly disapproving of Tusk's comments. They're portraying him as Dante, the Italian poet, and author of The Divine Comedy, a poem that actually starts by a visit to hell. And at The Telegraph, John Longworth says, "The real hell is being trapped in the wretched EU," I quote. He adds, "As we leave in March for a new world of freedom and trade based on the WTO, we'll look forward to our own version of heaven with low taxes, low tariffs, and free trade."
Looks like Leo Varadkar was right on that one. We're going to go to Uganda next, and a backlash after the country's tourism minister tried to make curvy women a tourist attraction.
That's right. You got to ask, you got to think about what he was thinking when he thought this was actually a good idea. Pretty controversial stuff. Uganda's tourist minister unveiled this week plans for a beauty pageant that would select, quote, curvy, sexy women to become the faces and ambassadors of the country's tourism. Women, quite rightfully, say it objectifies them and their bodies. A petition to cancel the pageant is gathering steam, according to the Pan-African website Africa News. It's also sparked a lot of backlash on Twitter. One user saying that in a country of beautiful landscapes and amazing wildlife, this campaign makes Uganda look like a country with no tourist attractions.
OK, something here which has given me hope. Having a small brain apparently doesn't make you less intelligent.
That's right. This is, though, in reference to bees, Chris. So doesn't yet apply to humans. A group of Australian researchers have come to the conclusion, after a study led with honeybees that shows that the world's smallest pollinators are really good at solving math problems. Apparently, bees, these bees at least, were able to count to 4. They could understand the concept of zero and even retain memory of symbols. It could be very useful in helping them identify and remember which flowers are best to sustain their hives, for instance. So I guess forget spelling bee. Bees are the math bees rule the insect kingdom.
OK, and finally, a new load of emojis.
That's right. More emojis are going to flood your phones from April onwards, bringing the total to 3,000 emojis. It's the first update to the emoji list in 5 years. There'll be, and it's shaping up to be pretty inclusive. There are over a dozen emojis representing members of the deaf and blind communities, as well as people with disabilities. So you'll get emojis of wheelchairs, prosthetic limbs, hymns and guide dogs. There's also the couple holding hands emoji will now have 4 gender combinations and include biracial couples. There's also a drop of blood emoji that's actually a concerted campaign by the NGO Plan International to destigmatize women's menstrual cycles, so that a drop of blood representing a woman's period. Perplexingly, there's also this emoji you might see in the list. It's a pinching one, although many people took it to mean, you know, the size of a man's manhood. In fact, one user on Twitter cheekily suggests that it could also reflect the size of one's attention span.
Or one's brain. Deep thinker.
Or one's brain.
Thank you very much. That was our press review. You can keep up to date on our website.